The plight of refugees across the world is as grave as it's ever been, often dominating our news bulletins. One of the biggest refugee migrations happened in the 1970s and 80s in the aftermath of the Vietnam War. And Pam now explores an extraordinary story of despair and hope, which led one man to dedicate his life to serving God.
The war in Vietnam ended in 1975 with victory for the communists. And in the years that followed, more than 1 million people fled the country, most of them left by sea in their hope of finding freedom. They became known as the Vietnamese boat people, and it's estimated that as many as 400,000 of them lost their lives in the attempt. But one man did survive, Michael Ho, and I've come here to Birmingham to hear his remarkable story and to spring a bit of a surprise on him.
Michael put his life in the hands of people smugglers who had little regard for safety as they attempted to cross the South China Sea.
When I stepped down on the boat, I couldn't believe my eyes, because that's not the boat, for the sea. It was a little boat for family transport in the river.
How many were you?
Altogether 77. Most of them on the boat were women and children. When we went out into the sea was so violent. So after 3 days, 24 hours running, the motor blew up.
Adrift in the vast ocean, the 77 boat people were now totally helpless.
So we were drifted on the sea for 17 days without food and water. So all of us, I have to say, after 17 days, we're waiting for death to come.
So was there anything that gave you a glimmer of hope?
You know that on the boat, when we escaped, there was a young married woman. She was pregnant. But after 17 days, the baby boy was born on the boat. Sadly, we have no water, and the mother has no milk. And the baby, really in danger. For the very first time, I must say, I bend my knees and I pray for the baby and the mother. I said, Lord, if you are a loving God, would you do something to save the baby and the mother? And everybody on the boat could die, but don't let this new life die. So I said to the Lord, I said, if you save the baby, Lord, I promise you I will be a good man.
Was your prayer answered?
About 2 or 3 hours after the baby was born, and suddenly I looked out in the ocean. A British cargo ship from nowhere suddenly appeared, from the ocean, and slowly came closer. And I bent my knees immediately. I said, thank God I was born the second time into the world. I couldn't believe that I would survive.
Miraculously, all on board, including the baby, was saved.
Wow, what an amazing story. And later in the programme, we'll be giving Michael the surprise of his life. But first, let's join Michael and his congregation here at Holy Trinity Church for a hymn that seems so appropriate to his story. Earlier in the programme, we heard the incredible story of Michael Ho's escape from communist Vietnam. Back in 1980, he and 76 others boarded a tiny craft and set out across the open sea in search of freedom. Pam takes up the story.
The boat broke down, and they spent 17 days adrift without food or water. On the 17th day, a baby was born, and just when all hope seemed lost, a ship appeared on the horizon.
And we called for help. I stood right in front of the boat and I waved my hand with the torch burning. And I said to myself, and I said, Lord, let them see me.
It was a British ship called the Bendeirg. Ian and Jenny McBain were part of the crew.
I was second mate at the time, so I was one of the navigational officers. At 6 o'clock at night, we heard word that there was a boat being seen, refugees, and that was when we all left the smoking room, headed out on deck to have a look to see what was actually coming closer to us. Then we got the craft alongside, and then after that, pilot ladder went down, then they started to climb on board the ship.
One of the British sailors came down and had a look, and when they saw the baby and the mother, he came up and he looked at me with the eyes of compassion.
I do remember going down to the boat, and I remember coming up the pilot ladder with one of the children in my arm.
The joy, the care, and the hospitality of the British sailors really make us so confident, so happy to know that we are saved.
It just lifted the spirits of everybody to see the smiles of everybody after they'd been on board, and they were just so happy to be there.
If you had the opportunity now, Michael, to say something to members of that crew who saved you, what would you say?
To just say a big thank you for their kindness, their generosity to stop and to save our group. You know, since I came over here, I'm looking for them, but I don't know how to trace these people.
Well, we might be able to help because I have a big surprise for you. Waiting outside the door is a man who remembers that moment 35 years ago, every bit as much as you did, because he was involved in rescuing you. He was the second mate, and he is here. May I introduce you to Ian McBain and his wife Jenny, who was also on the boat.
Oh,
Right. Nice to meet you again.
thank you for saving our life. When you picked me up, I had no English, and I don't know how to express my gratitude to the people who saved, you know, the 77 people, including that baby.
Baby, yes.
Yeah, right from the sea. I couldn't believe that I see the man who saved my life. So you can see that now I'm working here as a priest, and in return, because you've done such a great favor for me, you saved my life, and then the country welcomed me in here. So it is my turn to repay your people with kindness and, you see, love.
This really has been the most amazing story we've heard today of a young man who almost lost his life in his bid to find freedom, but on the way was met with compassion, with welcome, a new homeland, and a chance to say thank you and keep his promise to God through his enduring faith.